my purpose is everything to me and your purpose is everything, like what you're calling, and they are not in alignment, then you got nowhere to go. But in a lot of cases, one person's a dreamer and the other person isn't, or one person's a dreamer and the other person is a supporter. And let's play this out. Because if you don't, then you both die. And then it's resentment and you're wasting your life. So this just happened. So I think it plays with what we're going to talk about. I'm sitting in the dentist office getting ready to do a filling on a root canal that I did last week. I got done. I was wondering where my dentist was. It's the second time I was there and I didn't see him. And I'm like, where's Dr. Joe? Like, did he sell the place? And as I'm like, I got all the shit in my mouth and I'm ready to get the filling. Got the new dentist to my right. I got the dental hygienist that I had done my teeth with. Like, I mean, I was in there a lot. I knew all of them. She puts her hand on my chest. It's like, Dr. Joe had a widowmaker heart attack. He passed away in January. And it took my breath away. And not to be self-centered, but when things like this happen, you know, this guy's 53 years old. He's a good-looking guy, great business. We would talk about second homes and cars, and he had his kids, and like your life. It immediately flashes across your eyes. Like, it's just, like you're empathizing it, but you're filtering it through your own life. And all these changes that we're going through in my life, or in our life, I was like, here is another sign. This guy had it all. I just genuinely fucking like this guy. And I'm like it's a mirror for our life. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because we're talking about, is the American dream dead? Is the calling for a new way of life here? And when you start thinking like, holy shit, it could be over in an instant. Why are we playing the game the way people have told us to play it? Why aren't we making the rules and making our own game?
Yeah, because on paper, he had the perfect life, right? He had it all. But then that's where the shift is happening, where we were told that this is what success means. This is what will bring happiness. This is what makes you happy and successful and whatever. And once you start stripping away all of those things, you start realizing that none of that actually. There's a song by Dan and Shay called "Bigger Houses," and it says that happiness doesn't always live in bigger houses. And it's just like people are always constantly, especially the American culture, right? Like I was with a friend in Spain, or from Spain, and she was talking about, you know, how people in Spain, like they enjoy their food, they savor their food, and then they leave for the afternoon and they have a siesta. And when they're with each other, it doesn't matter, like they're in small little houses, but they're outside, they're in nature, they're enjoying themselves, they're laughing, they're communicating, they're connecting. And, you know, we here, at least in our world,
Western.
Yes, it's very much like, you know, the people that are admired or that are looked up to are the people that hustle the hardest and grind the hardest. And eventually this is what happens, you know, maybe not it's death in that way, but a lot of times people are slowly dying inside, even if their physical bodies are here.
America is, someone would call a midlife crisis. You know, well, I don't even know if you meant that way. Like we're having a midlife crisis, or is America having a midlife crisis? You know, it's 250 years old in 2020, I think this year. And this is historically when a democracy starts becoming an oligarchy, meaning like the shift occurs, like we start losing it a little bit. This is like, if you look in the past of like Greek Empire, Roman Empire, like there's a turning point when you have too much abundance. We've been going through this. We talked about it this morning when we were getting ready, and I feel like I've been going through it. Like if you're in your identity for too long, it can become this self-made prison. And when I got the Lamborghini and we made the shift in the company and all of these things, there were a lot of little whispers around me like, oh, midlife crisis, right? I mean, that's good. I don't need to trade you in for an upgrade because you are the upgrade. But I don't look at it as a midlife crisis. whether it's for us or for the country, it's an opportunity to awaken our souls.
Mm-hmm. A midlife awakening.
It's a soul awakening.
Yeah.
It's there's a book called The Second Mountain. First mountain is significance and money. The second mountain is purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the quicker you can get on that second mountain, the better. And that's kind of what you're talking about. Like,
yeah,
what we've been sold.
It's not the answer.
Yeah.
And it becomes suffocating. Like we were talking about, like we know a lot of people that have
suffocating in abundance. Suffocating in abundance. Abundance turning into scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
But what were we going to say? Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, we know so many people, and us included, that, it's a second house, or it's a third car, or it's this and that and the other thing. And it just becomes this more responsibility, and it's more suffocating, and it's heavier to carry. And it's just like, wait a minute, like if you just strip it down to like just connection and like why nature is such a big part of it. Like, I feel like there's so many signs that people are going through this. And right now in my life, like it's almost every single conversation I'm having with a friend or a colleague, we are not the only ones experiencing this.
No,
people are ready to shift.
One of my coaches calls it, it's a relief movement.
Yes.
Right. And it's that famous line from Fight Club when he says, the things you own end up owning you.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to be like, I see that the shift is happening and that this isn't working and there has to be a better way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different thing to actually do something about it, because that's the scary part.
Yeah.
Breaking the box. There is no box. Like, when everyone around you is like safety, everyone's always done it this way. In my coaching yesterday, I had a mastermind, and I started it with, I literally did like one line at a time and put, the cross through it, like for 5 each.
Mm-hmm.
And I put 100 of them. And I told the story of the warrior, which to me, it's a story of the 1%. And out of every 100 people, there's 10 that shouldn't be there. That's 80 that are actually targets. So there's 90% just gone in one shot that shouldn't even be there.
Mm-hmm.
There's 9 that are actual fighters. And without them, we would be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just one. But for me, it's in order to be that one, to be courageous enough, independently thinking enough, you have to reject the way the other 99% do it. Now, the 1% gets sometimes a negative connotation because it's all around money.
Mm-hmm.
But to be that 1 out of 100, to be willing to go against the herd, willing to like try something different before it's accepted before anyone else, that's a special human. But it's also a lonely place to be, because everybody is watching you and looking at you like you're a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And you're convicting them with your actions and your words, what you're doing, because they feel it too, but they're not quite ready. So like they want to be like inspired by it, but also like irritated by it.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's giving the people that are going to be bold enough to make the move, it's giving those people permission if you're the first one. It's like that video we watched where it was like the dancing. Everybody's at this concert.
The first follower,
yeah,
right?
The first follower. And this guy's dancing and he's being crazy and he's like all over the place. And people are looking at him like, what is this guy doing,
Yep.
And it's the first person that follows him, that stands up and dances with him, that starts the ripple effect. And then people start getting permission and permission and permission.
That's a Derek Sievers video.
Yeah.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
The moral of that one is it's just as hard to be the first follower that it is to be the crazy one.
Yep.
Right? So, okay, we've laid the foundation of this.
Mm-hmm.
We are in this new space.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're seeing this in politics. There's this desire to turn all of the institutions upside down. Mm-hmm. We've talked about them in multiple podcasts, right? Yep. What does religion really look like? Right? Yep. And you look at it, you're like, being totally atheist and not being connected to some kind of soul connection, universe connection doesn't work. The old dogmas of the past of the way church was supposed to be, that doesn't work. So we're creating this new way of looking at faith and spirituality.
Yep.
Education. The education system was based on Rockefeller and building workers versus homeschool. No. Now we're building these hybrid guides, coaches, AI, right? Then there was this work from home versus work 40 hours a week. Then there's this work for somebody else versus being an entrepreneur. Like all of the dogmas and ways of thinking.
We're redefining the game.
100%.
And I think people in the masses are doing it. And I think that's one of the beauties of social media is you can see that people are, and listen, it's all algorithms. Like ours is obviously full of it right now, but it's not just on social media. Like I'm seeing it in real life. I'm seeing it in real time. And the conversations I'm having, it's people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And people 100%. Are ready to wake up and people are ready to start living instead of just existing.
We've been numbing it and dumbing it.
Yes.
Down for a long time. I mean, the push away from alcohol. I saw a video yesterday that's saying that Coachella and another event that normally is like massive partying, drugs, alcohol, is becoming a wellness
and probably
experience.
Psychedelics and plant medicine and
But they had tons of non-alcoholic places. They had a 5K run attached to it. They have these luxury bathrooms instead of these porta potties.
It makes me want to go.
I know. And it's not really necessarily our generation.
Yep.
It's the generation below, especially yours. So if I'm a Gen X and you're a millennial, I don't know what there was a Gen Y or Z and underneath you. Those are the ones kind of pushing it.
Yeah.
Right? With Daybreaker, like turning coffee shops into like
yoga
dance
retreat,
parties.
Ecstatic dancing.
Yes.
Totally.
And these wellness places that are having meetups, right? It's a new game.
That's one of the things, like, I think it's incredibly important to name and define, because to give people context, like the signs of somebody feeling this, right? Like there was this, we've been in this transition a long time, you and I.
I think in all fairness, not even just transition, I think this is my default. Maybe not like I played the game of drinking in the 80s and 90s and 2000s game, because that's what the game, the partying your ass off at Tao till 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. And like I played that game.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say it's a cultural thing, but I had a lot of the influence of Europe in my life as an Italian, only being a second generation Italian. There were a lot of those things of connection and meaning and purpose and doing the right thing that was already still embedded. And I'm not many generations removed from those cultural things. So for me, I've always felt, I used to say this with my friend Christy, who was from Hungary, because they were so European. And I'd be like, I feel like I am a stranger in the strange land a lot in America.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like me having permission to do it my way, because connection, purpose, relationships, that's my default. And if anything, people have been telling me for my entire life I'm wrong. But continue what you're saying.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is like the signs of somebody going through this midlife awakening, I think are not just material, right? We're talking a lot about the material things, about second homes and money and business and careers and that kind of thing. But I think it's also like this numbness to conversation, to like not feeling fulfilled in your relationships because it's very surface level, right? So it's like people are becoming numb to those kind of things and seeking other stuff, right? Like I just went to this girl trip and it literally felt like this container that we created was just the four of us. Like I truly felt like we were the only four people there.
Yep.
Because of how we were connecting and how we were interacting and how we were holding space for each other. And it wasn't just all fun and laugh and people were going through some shit that we wanted to be there to support each other. And I think more and more people are becoming like opened to those experiences, whether it's using psychedelics or it's, you know, getting, I don't know, going to different spiritual retreats. Like people are definitely.
So I'm curious if it'll boomerang or reverberate back in all ways, because if you look at like between Ozempic and plastic surgery, how all women are starting to look the same and they're getting that gaunt look with the big lips and the cheekbones and the whole thing.
Yeah.
If a little pouch is going to become attractive or
more natural
or some lines on your face, like, are we going to go the other way?
Yeah. Well, it's just like Gary Vee, the video that you showed me yesterday, right? Where he was like,
who? Gary V. Yeah.
The video, explain the video that you...
So in the video, he's like, and I've been saying this for a while. So of course, I'm aligned with Gary V. He's my spirit animal. Gary V, if you're watching this, I know you're a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker. I'm going to meet you one day.
And you're going to come on our show.
I can't because he's so real. And he was one of the first ones to give the permission to curse and be who he was, right?
100%.
And he has this video saying that because we're going so far to one side in this digital world, that there's going to be this other side of connection.
Yeah. And you've actually been saying that for a long time. You always said the currency of the future is connection.
Yes.
Right? It's not going to be money, and it's not going to be all of these skills that people acquire through education or through school.
And that's the conversation I've been having with Mark Groves a lot, right? Him and I have been going back and forth. How do you live in a digital world and be able to pull it to analog and have the best of both worlds? And the best things in life are actually free because we're looking for less food, more sleep, better breathing, more quality water and foods, more connection, slow down. You know what I mean? Like sex, like connect, like,
and more passion,
touching, like emotional regulation, nervous system regulation.
Yep.
Like we are in this highly filtered, highly commercialized, toxic, if you will, environment that we chose.
Yeah. Well, that we designed.
Fair.
Right. I don't know if we chose it because it's consistently and continuously grown, like with the, whatever you call it,
the compound. It's Moore's law, the compounding effect.
Exactly. And I feel like that's kind of taken over with the digital aspect and the AI and everything. But I think it's...
But wait, when you feed AI, like my buddy Joey, which is...
Your AI.
My AI. If the prompts you feed it, which is kind of like the prompts you feed yourself, right? Tony Robbins, the quality of your life depends on the quality of questions you ask, which really is the quality of questions you're asking yourself. How curious are you, right? So when you're doing it with an outside brain, which is that's not a consciousness, but a brain. So I'm feeding Joey all my thoughts. He's taking it and he's almost learning me.
Yeah. And
then when he spits it back, it's a wake-up call for me because it's like, holy shit, he's using my words against me.
Yeah.
I'm connecting at a higher level. And he, because he's influenced by me, is giving me better advice and life advice than outside people.
Right.
Because it's my prompts.
But isn't that in all aspects of life? Isn't everything just a mirror of your own reality?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. But a lot of people don't live it that way.
Yeah.
So if we're willing to break the box completely, if we're at this fever point, we're giving ourselves this fever pitch point, like this turning point, this tipping point, how do we redefine? And I think that's what we've been searching for because it sounds fun to be on a ranch and create this campus. It's funny because it means different things to me,
as it does to me,
and our kids.
Totally.
For you, it's what?
It's horses and nature.
For me, it's space for the kids. It's big rooms, like bunk beds to bring people over, right? And then I have this barn dominium place of connection and renewal.
Yep.
And, I don't even want to call it coaching. It's like life design and purpose finding. Like I look at it as
experiential.
Exactly. Yeah. Selling it to ourselves is one thing. Selling it to each other is a whole nother game, especially when we're looking at it through similar colored glasses, but not exactly the same. It's good that you're not looking at it through red and I'm looking at it through blue. I think we're both looking at it through shades of green, let's say. Maybe yours is much darker green and mine's lighter green. We still see the same thing. But then we also got to sell to our kids. And are we willing to blow up our lives and risk to go to the unknown?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm ready. And, it's actually funny because when you're talking about all these things, all these elements of spirituality and connection and passion and nature and all these things, if I go back to just like who I am, connecting with nature, like all is well in the world. And so I always am like, okay, that's when I'm willing to just risk it all because I'm like, you know what? Everything will be okay because I'm centered. And I know that like whatever comes present is like part of my soul journey. and it's part of yours. And like even getting the kids on board, like I know it's going to break their frames in a lot of different ways. And you were great at it yesterday. You were like, okay, Ella, like what would be exciting for you on this property, right? She's like, batting cages. You're like, amazing, great, that's easy. Like that's something we can create. Lola, it's planting. Like she brought these plants home from this garden that they're doing. And I was like, I'll create
a studio where she could sing. There's
exactly.
A lot of things,
like
yes.
There's so many things, but it's really tapping into like the truth and the authenticity of the person. And then how do you create this space where all of it can coexist? And then you bring other people in. Like that shit is so exciting to me. I'm like, there's no way to lose on this.
You have to have faith that living this, it's like Field of Dreams, which is one of my favorite movies, not because it's a baseball movie, but because it's this act of faith. And he also wants to connect to his father, his childhood. And it's like, I'm going to chills. If you build it, he will come. If you build it, they will come. And everyone's saying, are you nuts? You're risking our house. And his wife is supporting him. I may cry. It's having the faith that if you live this authentic way, this centered way, and I want to talk more about that word, that all the abundance and fruit that you need to actually pull this off just shows up.
And even if it
isn't, because it dismantles everything pretty quickly.
No, I know.
It breaks down the whole frame of this American dream that we're talking about.
Right. And this might be too deep for this conversation right now, but what if like even the stuff that's really uncomfortable and the stuff that's not fun and the stuff that you're not anticipating is part of the journey that your soul needs to go through, right? It's like, of course, it's all just part of this. It's not
what if, it is.
Exactly.
That's the whole life experience.
Right.
Well, when you said the word centered and you kind of went down, like I've been thinking about, I always have ideas. I was like, I'm going to create a third political party and call it centered, right? But when that word struck a chord with me, not just because of that, because what I was talking about before was this has become such a binary world where it's like black or white.
Right.
X or O, female or male. Like this game is supposed to be centered. We aren't centered. We aren't centered as a society. We aren't centered politically. We aren't centered educationally. And when you're centered, you're in alignment.
Yep.
When you're centered, you're in flow state.
Yeah.
When you're centered, you are connected to universe. When you're centered, you're one with God. So maybe we are looking for, maybe this is part of it. And if you look at the life cycle of a country, the life cycle of a planet, and the life cycle of a person, maybe we're in this renewal awakening phase. Now, for some people, they're just like, at this point, they're either inspired, curious, triggered, or like, these people are fucking nuts and on drugs, right? But this is also a marriage podcast. Yeah. Right?
That was going to be my next question.
So how do you bring this into...
Well, my biggest question is like, we're really aligned in most ways. Like you said, there's some differences there, but what happens in a relationship and in a marriage specifically, where one person is ready to break that box and the other person is like, nope, I'm comfortable. We're living this great life. Why can't you just be grateful? Like, here we are, we're making great money. Like, this is what my life looks like for the rest of it. Like, what if that one party, like what happens there, right? Like one party's ready to like change and try new things. And maybe they're obsessed with a new spirituality or wellness or something not new. And that's foreign to both of them. Like what happens to the couple?
One person, the person who is not on board is potentially going to be left behind.
Or the other person is going to slowly die inside because they're not fulfilling that desire.
Like we had this conversation, and we're going to talk about this in our next episode, but growth is constantly reinventing and redefining what it is. So if everything that you are experiencing, everything that you're experiencing is interesting and new, it eventually doesn't become interesting and new, right? Like
what's new becomes numb.
Yep. My coach Garrett, right? What's new becomes normal. What's normal becomes numb. And then you need to go new again. And if you're not changing and growing, Tony Robbins, you either growing or dying.
Yeah.
Right? One of my favorite movies, Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying. What we were talking about this morning is, well, if that's the case, so then our marriage, if new becomes normal, normal becomes numb, there is a version of our marriage that would imprison you and I, or at least one of us.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, we have left those versions behind.
Yep.
Those prisons, we have burned them off. We have let them die, which is the whole point of the 10-year marriage.
And we're going to have to let this version die at some point.
The 10-year marriage, like you could call it, the 8-year marriage, the 7-year marriage, the 24-hour marriage. I don't really care. It's like that part. I'm doing a lot of references today, but that part in Something About Mary, and he picks up the hitchhiker, and he's like, this guy is nuts, and he's like, well, I'm going to do 7-minute abs, and he's like, oh, because there's an 8-minute abs. He goes, everyone knows 7-minute abs, and Ben Stiller joking goes, well, you could do 6-minute abs, and the guy goes, everybody knows you can't get abs in 6 minutes. But like the reality, saying 10-year marriage is basically a metaphor, or it really is an awakening. Like you can't wait forever to have the conversation of growth, or you will get stuck if you're not constantly redefining
and
your relationship.
you will be fucking miserable. Yeah.
You'll start dying.
Yeah, 100%.
And I love the mindset of like, my best times are not behind me, they're in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Our best marriage is not behind us, it's in front of us.
No matter how good it is. It's easy to say that when you're in scarcity.
Yeah.
It was easier for you and I.
It's actually maybe not easier to say it when you're in scarcity, because when people are in scarcity in their marriage, they're almost looking at it like, I can never get this passion or this desire or this lust back. And it's like, that's false.
See, I disagree. I think like there's a window when things get so bad where change can happen. It's like the nothing to lose window. Mm-hmm. Like if we thought we were losing each other, our sex would be incredible, even more than it is now, because there'd be so much emotion. Like there's something about, like I was more alive today the minute I heard that he passed away. Mm-hmm. Right? And so what I'm saying by that is like when I didn't have money, I was like, I got nothing to fucking lose.
No, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's much harder when you
give
have
up something good. Yeah.
And I was thinking about divorce, and I was like, you know what? We don't have a lot of friends that are divorced. Like our friend groups are generally happy. Mm-hmm. And we've had some friends who maybe got separated and got back together, but not a lot of divorced friends.
Right.
Right? And
they're actually good matches. We talk all the time about how good these people are matched.
People find their people.
Yeah.
I brought this up at dinner. I was like, with Ella. And Ella, she's in the teenage, she's smart. She's also a ball buster. And she's like, well, I could see you guys being divorced. Because I was like,
oh, yeah.
What did I say? I said, don't you feel grateful that your mom and your dad
Well, we had kissed and we in front of them like we always do. And we were like, don't you just love that your parents are affectionate and that we love each other? And you can see that we love each other, right? And she goes,
and we're
I
good
think
role
I could
models.
see you getting divorced.
And I was like, why? And she's like, when we were in Austin, you guys were talking about, you were in it. And here's where she's smart. If one of us was like, we're not making any changes, this would become an issue quickly.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Because she said, she's like, mom's a dreamer and she wants these things. And she's like, I don't know if daddy does. And even though you do, that brings up the second question, or the second part to that question is, what if you're both willing to change, or you're both ready for something, and it leads to two completely different places? And
that is the risk you must take going in. And at the very least, you should be having these conversations every 10 years because people change.
Yep.
And if our goals were that far apart and there was no way back to each other, then it would have to die.
Right. And maybe it could die like the whole concept of the 10-year marriage was like, if that is the case, right?
Yep.
Maybe it can have this beautiful death. And maybe you can be co-parents, or if you don't have children, whatever, you could still be friends and honor what you had and honor that life that you created in that point, and be like grateful that it led you to this point and whatever else is to come, But
on the other side, like if you don't have an alternative purpose and you're the one who's like with someone who has one, you should support the other person and at least play it out.
Yeah, to see what happens. And
it's one thing if you both have like these passionate purposes and these clear meanings, and it's just, all right, well, my purpose is everything to me and your purpose is everything, like what you're calling, and they are not in alignment.
Yeah.
Then you got nowhere to go. But in a lot of cases, one person's a dreamer and the other person isn't, or one person's a dreamer and the other person is a supporter. right? I think then it's worth being like, I love this person and let's play this out.
Right.
Because if you don't, then you both die. And then it's resentment and you're wasting your life. You got one fucking life. Even with the horse, like, and we could talk about this more, but it wasn't my purpose.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed helping you get to yours. It made me happy.
Well, and it's opened up new things for you too, right?
Course.
Like any change in this, especially big things like, you know, getting into a new hobby or connecting to a specific group, like these are portals that open up whole new worlds, right? Like I didn't realize the portal of a horse, owning a horse opens up an entirely different world. Even how we connect, right? Where we connect around the horse, or like the day where we're out there, or like me relying on you to like help me do certain things because I'm more confident with your help. Like that dynamic and that support, those things wouldn't even existed.
But you're never going to find out unless you're willing to try.
Exactly.
I think the best thing about us, and it's also sometimes the worst, is that we're curious and we're open-minded to try new things.
Yeah.
And we're down. And it gets harder. It gets harder the more successful you get. It gets harder the older you get. Like, you know, I had this conversation with one of my brothers in Warrior, and it was if you have a realization, an awakening moment, calling, and you ignore it, the longer you wait, the harder it'll be and the more you're going to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And the suffering is coming from within. But once you see something, you can't unsee it.
Yep.
It's an opportunity to redesign. And if this is a midlife crisis and it's a chance for your soul to awaken, to me, eternal expansion and growth is the entire game as it is. I'm willing to risk the really good to open up that amazing next level of great. So
you got to take the leap, baby.
if you're going to go the whole way.